Good morning, students. Today we begin with film studies. In this lecture, I'll be talking about what do you mean by film studies. We often hear this sentence like I like this film or I don't like this film. We repeatedly say and hear these words. When when we leave a cinema or when we come after watching a film, we often use these words to describe a film. We just say, I like this or I don't like this. This actually tells something about the viewer's taste, but not much about the film. So, the starting point for studying films, as opposed to simply watching them, is to go beyond I like or I don't like. You have to go beyond this I like or I don't like to have a serious study of films. How? One way is to slow the film down and look at how it was made. You will be amazed by how much technical skill, craftsmanship, and artistry has gone into a well made film. As you know, most films are not spontaneous acts made upon the spot. Instead, even commercial films are planned months, sometimes years, by a whole army of skilled professionals, producers, screenwriters, directors, cinematographers, editors, sound engineers, musicians, lighting techniques, caterers, and most importantly, actors. Therefore, studying films doesn't simply mean to memorize the names or recite all the films made by your favorite director or actor. It is not the actual film studies. Film studies actually involve looking at films closely, which requires hours of study. And studying film is actually not an absurd idea. There is this film scholar, French film scholar Christian Metz. He made his living out of studying the cinema. So, of course, he didn't think it was an absurd idea. To study film, we shouldn't think that studying film is something like an inferior act when you compare to the study of other art forms like theater, painting, opera. And there are two reasons why this is not to be thought of an inferior activity because one, film occupies a dominant place in society because as you know, film is a popular medium and it should be studied seriously. And secondly, if the film student adopts a serious, responsible, and critical approach to film, then film studies becomes an important study as any other type of study. So it should be studied as a serious domain. And Christian Metz have told this famous words about film. He says, cinema is difficult to explain because it is easy to understand. But cinema is not so difficult to explain once you become familiar with the main critical tools which film scholars use to analyze films. And usually, in studying films, all these film scholars and film critics end up either in describing or analyzing film. With description, I mean you repeat the words, you see in a film. That is something like paraphrasing the entire film. Otherwise, you describe the content of the film, or you describe the film's form, how the film is constructed, or maybe you describe how the camera pans, all those camera movements. Here, description is necessary but not a sufficient condition for writing about film. You can describe the film, but that is not what you call as film studies. We need to supplement description with analysis. Analysis involves examining a film's overall structure, overall form or structure. That is the film's design. That is analysis. That is studying or examining film's overall form or structure. We look for patterns that gives significance to films, or you look at individual scenes and look at the significance of these scenes in the film, and you also try to determine whether this film has a significant form or not. We need to go beyond all these mere description and analyze how a film's individual parts fit and work together. Only if you can identify that significant form, that you will suddenly realize that all these images in this film fit together so brilliantly, and from there you get into that higher level of visual meaning. So, how do we identify that significant form? To identify the significant form, to analyze how a film's individual parts fit together, to how they work together, you need to train yourself to appreciate the special qualities of a film or each scene in a film. You have to acquire a broad knowledge of the inner workings of film. You should be sensitive to the unique meaning of each camera movement. And most importantly, you must understand the language of cinema. So you will have this question like analyzing a film kills the pleasure. You may think that analyzing a film in this way destroy the pleasurable experiences. As you know, most commonly we view a film just for entertainment, just for leisure. So you may have this thought in you whether a film destroy the pleasurable analyzing a film destroy this pleasurable experience, but actually it is not true. Film studies does not destroy our experience of films but actually transforms them. It We employ all those critical tools to analyze a film's meaning, which involves the spectator taking a step back from his or her experience of the film. Spectator takes a back seat. You take all those critical tools to understand the film's meaning. And the analyzing, the analyzing factor or this analysis of meaning will restore the experience in a different form. Therefore, critical analysis doesn't destroy the spectator's pleasurable experience of a film, but transforms it. Therefore, film studies is not simply about accumulating more and more information about films, filmmakers, and film industry. It is something like a passive act, passive form of learning of film. That is just to accumulate all those facts regarding films, facts regarding filmmakers, film actors. It is a passive act. You have to develop that critical and analytical skills, the skills that can be applied to any film. That is known as film studies. So film studies consist of a study of huge amount of histories, theories, and you use all those critical tools and discussions when you try to understand the meaning of a film. These are the 10 approaches to the study of cinema. One is you can study the technological history. Here, the emphasis is on pioneers. You can study about pioneers like Lumiere brothers. You can study all those technological innovations such as coming of sound, the development of color, etc. And you can study, secondly, you can study all those techniques such as close-up, etc. And then there is study of personalities, that is all those stars, actors, studio magnates, etc. And then there is study of the relation between film and other arts. It is usually a comparative study. You can compare film to theater or novel. Then you have this study of the chronological history of all those classical or important films. You can study film in relation to society. That is, you can study film, you can relate these films to the important social events such as Second World War. And then you have a study of history of Hollywood studios. You can study about directors, about genres, and you can even study about the regulation of the film industry by means of this censorship and other laws. So these are the 10 approaches to the study of cinema. So here I stop my lecture. This is basically about film studies. I wanted to stress the point that film studies is not memorizing all those film names, memorizing all those facts regarding films. It is actually you use a set of critical tools to understand the meaning of a film. You develop that skill. You get that critical tools and analytical skills through watching a lot of films, and that can be used to understand the inner working of films, and most importantly, as I said earlier, to understand the language of cinema. So here I stop. Hope it is clear. Thank you. Have a nice day.